Are you ready to find out the difference between becoming a general virtual assistant versus a specialist virtual assistant? In this video, I'm going to dive through the pros and the cons and which one probably is a better fit for you depending on the path that you're at if you're becoming a virtual assistant. Now, I do have videos on how to become a general virtual assistant and how to choose your specialty, but really I want to kind of have you guys see the reality of either or if you're still trying to figure out which one actually fits where you want to go. Now, first is defining a general virtual assistant. Essentially, it is someone who, as this name suggests, is basically someone who can do more of the general tasks within the business. A perfect example is, of course, my amazing assistant, who is my second brain in a lot of ways, where if I'm focusing on marketing and sales, she's focusing on marketing and sales with me. If I'm focusing on operations and getting more things done in the admin side, she's focused on that with me. So she is essentially a Jill of all trades, where she's able to work on a lot of different things with me, versus for a specialist virtual assistant, for example, our amazing social media manager, he basically takes care of repurposing our content, managing our content calendar, creating a report basically on how our social media stats were basically for that week. So he's really narrowed down on this one specialty or even niche depending on where you're at. So that's the difference between a more general virtual assistant and a specialist. Now, pros and cons for both. For a general virtual assistant, as I mentioned, you're really more versatile on the tasks just because you will have a lot of them. You will also probably have a wider range of potential clients just because sometimes when people are just overwhelmed, they just want to give a specific task to a person without having to think like, oh, is this something that they can do? Is it their specialty? Oh, they're my general virtual assistant. They can probably get this done. And of course, since you're learning a lot of new things and a lot of new skills, you can kind of keep yourself a little bit more active as you are going through your journey as a virtual assistant. Now, to be honest, this is usually the best way to get started. If you have no idea what kind of virtual assistant you want to be, you're probably going to default a little bit in being the more general virtual assistant. Now, the cons is that you will probably get to the point where you're overwhelmed by either the amount of tasks or just the variety of the task. It's a little bit of learning how to switch from one task to the other and making sure you're managing and also seeing the progress of each of the tasks you're working on. And of course, when you are in interviews or when you are talking to potential clients, it might be a little bit harder for you to differentiate yourself from other generalists as well. You might have to try to find some sort of edge that you have, they don't have, or some sort of process that you do that they have not seen other people do. Now, when you're a specialist virtual assistant, the pros for this is you basically just have an expertise in the field that not a lot of general virtual assistants would have. So as a really good example, again, for our social media manager in 2XU, that's his expertise now moving forward. If he's going to get hired, it's going to be easier for him to, of course, pitch himself to potential clients and to potential employers just because, like, hey, this is the thing that I've been working on with the last people that I worked with. Of course, I'm hoping that he stays with us forever and ever, but basically that is one of the easier ways that you can pitch yourself or be able to find another job because you have categorized yourself into one area. Next is the more niche that you go in being a specialist virtual assistant is you can have less competition with other virtual assistants. As an example, if someone tags themselves as a go high level virtual assistant versus just a general funnel virtual assistant, the go high level one would probably have less competition versus when you're just a general funnel virtual assistant. Yes, you're already a specialist, but the more niche that you can go, the less competition that there is, because most of the time if someone is just really looking for a very specific solution, that's where you come in. Now, the cons for this is there is, of course, a limited client base. Like I mentioned, for a client, you have to really know who you want to work with, who you want to target. That's why you niche down. And it might be that they already have a virtual assistant or they don't need that much support. So you have to kind of keep looking for a client for yourself. Next is if you don't keep up with the skills, if there's too much saturation, basically too many people in the same field, then you might stagnate a little bit, or if you don't upgrade your skills a lot, then it might be a little bit harder for you to sell yourself or to keep your current job or your current client. And of course, there's always the need to continuously stay up to date in your niche or your specialty. You might have to get certain certifications, you might have to do some sort of work to be able to keep yourself up to date on what is going on in your niche or your specialty. So how do you actually choose which one you do or the other? Now, to be honest, different people will have different paths. If you're looking for more of a long-term work anywhere kind of job, both kind of work really well. If you're looking for more of a just short-term, just project-based kind of tasks, maybe being more of a specialist virtual assistant, because then you can have kind of multiple clients, but you have to kind of keep getting more clients as those projects close. And if you want just like long-term working with a really good client and you grow with them, maybe being a general virtual assistant works. So depending on what path you do want to take as you go through your journey in being a virtual assistant, one doesn't necessarily have to be better than the other. It really is dependent on you. You want to look at like, hey, do I like having a variety of tasks or having a repetitive number of tasks that I know what to expect? It's also looking at, hey, based on the people that I want to work for, do they want more general virtual assistants or more specialist virtual assistants? So as an example, let's say you want to work with business consultants or business coaches. You want to look at like who they're currently hiring for and what makes sense for you as you take on that journey. And honestly, the main thing to keep in mind is just because you've been a specialist on this one area doesn't mean that you can flip or you can even switch to being a general virtual assistant. You can definitely can, and the same thing the other way of just because you chose being a general VA, you might find a skill or an outcome that you really like doing, and then you deep dive into being a specialist virtual assistant there. So there's not really a right or wrong answer when it comes to this. It really depends on you, your goals, and where you want to be. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what questions you have in being a general or a specialist virtual assistant. I would love to know and probably will answer you. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to build a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an amazing day and know that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.